Every legend shines until the lights fade, glory turns to silence, and one mistake can shatter everything. I know your time is valuable, so let's get straight to it. Cody Garbrandt, the heart that couldn't stop swinging. He rose like fire from the dust, the crowd chanting his name, every punch a blur, every movement art in motion, and when he touched gold, it felt like destiny calling. But glory never stays, not in this game, not when the cage remembers every mistake. TJ Dillashaw stood across from him, once a brother, now a storm waiting to break him. Pride turned to rage, speed turned to chaos, and in that moment, Cody fought not to win, but to prove he was still alive. The first knockdown came fast, too fast to breathe, and when he fell, the silence spoke louder than the crowd ever could. He tried to rise again, the same fire, the same heart, but each swing carried pain, each round dragged ghosts of old wars. The comeback was brave, yes, but fragile, every victory a reminder of what was lost. He was lightning fast, beautiful, and gone too soon, yet even in ruin, he still fights, because some hearts never learn how to stop swinging. Jon Jones, the unseen defeat. But while Cody fell to fists, Jon Jones fell to something darker. Not power, not skill, but himself. He walked like a king, calm, untouchable, a storm trapped inside control. Yet every storm breaks when pride grows louder than focus, and rules start to feel too small. The Matt Hamill fight was the first crack, elbows raining down, dominance interrupted by a single illegal strike, victory erased by the rulebook. He called it unfair, fans called it cursed, but maybe it was a warning. Then came the eyes, pokes that blurred lines, and the silence that followed felt colder than the crowd's roar. Dominic Reyes took him to war, no fear, no retreat, and for the first time, Jon looked human, breathing heavy, searching for rhythm, staring at a reflection he didn't recognize. Then USADA came knocking. The belts, the bands, the whispers, each one heavier than a punch. He was the best ever, until rules, pride, and chaos caught up. Because Jon Jones never truly lost inside the cage, he lost to the man in the mirror, the only opponent he could never defeat. Conor McGregor, the fall of a kin. Jon lost to himself, but Conor McGregor lost to the world he built. He rose on words sharper than blades, dressed in gold, walked like fame itself bowed to him. Every punch was power, every stare a promise, and for a moment, it felt like nothing could touch him. But power blinds fast, and Vegas was waiting. Nate Diaz stood calm, no suit, no talk, just a fighter who didn't care about crowns or noise. Conor swung hard, confident, certain that speed and chaos would save him again, but this time, the storm missed. The punches faded, the gas tank emptied, and in that blur of blood and disbelief, Nate's choke wrapped around an empire. One night in Vegas, the empire cracked. And Conor learned that talk doesn't save you from the choke. The world watched the king tap. For the first time, silence followed his name. But in that silence, something changed. Pride turned to reflection, flashed a fight, and when he rose again, he carried scars not of defeat but of understanding. Because even kings fall, but real ones rise knowing why they fell. Ben Askren, the fastest nightmare. Conor learned from the choke, but Ben Askren never got the chance. His fall came colder, without warning. He walked into the octagon undefeated, confident, talking loud, smiling wider than fear itself. Years of wrestling, years of control, and in 5 seconds, all of it vanished. Across the cage stood Jorge Masvidal, calm like a storm before impact. The bell rang, and Ben ducked. Instinct, pure habit, the move that always worked. But this time, destiny was waiting mid-air. A knee flew, perfect, brutal, final. 5 seconds. That's all it took to erase a decade of dominance. The sound was thunder, then silence. The arena froze, Masvidal walked off, hands behind his back, like he already knew. The crowd screamed, but Ben lay still, the price of hype paid in full. In those few seconds, time didn't move, it shattered. From king to meme, from undefeated to undone. The sport doesn't care how long you ruled, only how fast you fell. Because in fighting, legends aren't made by wins, they're remembered by how they break, and how fast it all disappears. Tuivasa, the break that built him. Ben's fall was sudden, brutal, unforgettable. But Tuivasa's fall was different, slower, heavier, the kind that breaks you from the inside. He came in swinging, smiling, the brawler everyone loved. Every punch was a party, every win a celebration. But then came the loss, sharp, humbling, silent. He wasn't knocked out of the cage, he was knocked into reality. The cheers faded, the lights dimmed, and the man who danced through fire suddenly stood in the dark. Many fighters quit there. Ty didn't. He turned pain into laughter, pressure into personality, and somehow into culture. The showy was born, wild and raw, a toast to failure, a roar for the broken. He drank with fans, laughed at the hurt, and fought with something bigger than pride, connection. He lost a fight, but found himself and became the people's champ. Because sometimes, the fall doesn't end you. It rebuilds you, reshapes you, makes you real. And Tuivasa rose, not just as a fighter but as a symbol of what it means to keep swinging with a smile. Nate Diaz, the bloody reality. Tai turned loss into laughter, but Nate Diaz turned pain into purpose. From Stockton streets to the octagon lights, he never wanted fame, he wanted respect. And that came through blood. His first loss wasn't a defeat, it was an awakening. Every punch he took, every cut that opened, shaped the man who refused to back down. He wasn't built for pretty wins or clean fights. Nate was built for chaos, for wars that tested soul, not skill. Early in his career, he learned that this sport doesn't reward style, it rewards survival. And he mastered both. He stood toe-to-toe with giants, never blinking, never begging. When others broke, he smiled through the blood, talking back, swinging harder. Every loss only sharpened his fire, every scar told a story of defiance. He never lost the fight, just learned to bleed better. And that's why fans love him. Nate Diaz didn't chase perfection, he lived imperfection proudly. Because in a world chasing glory, he proved that pain can be power, and scars can crown a warrior. José Aldo, from king to ashes. Nate bled and became legend, but José Aldo burned in 13 seconds. For 10 years, he ruled like a shadow king, silent, ruthless, unstoppable. Every kick was thunder, every win carved in history. He wasn't just a champion, he was an era. And then came Conor McGregor, loud, electric, a storm that promised to end empires. The world watched as pride met chaos. The bell rang, hearts froze, and before anyone could breathe, it was over. One left hand. One perfect shot. Aldo fell in slow motion, crown slipping, legacy crashing. 13 seconds, and a decade of dominance burned away. The crowd roared, history flipped, and the king who built everything from fire was left staring at the smoke. But legends don't disappear, they rebuild. Aldo rose again, quieter, stronger, wiser. Because sometimes it only takes one moment to destroy everything you were and another to decide what you'll become. Zingano, the silent pain. Aldo's fall was loud, the crowd roaring, cameras flashing, history exploding in seconds. But Zingano's fall was silent. No thunder, no noise, just pain echoing where no one could hear it. She came to fight with fire, all heart, all courage. When she faced Ronda Rousey, it was supposed to be redemption, a comeback from loss, a rise from grief. But one mistake, one wild rush, and it ended before it began. 14 seconds, gone. The fight, the dream, the years of clawing back. But Kat's real battles weren't under lights. They were in the dark, losing her husband, fighting through heartbreak, holding strength when the world kept breaking. She wasn't just a fighter, she was survival in human form. Sometimes the hardest battles aren't fought under lights, but in the dark. And though the world saw defeat, what they didn't see was the woman who kept standing, broken but breathing, hurt but unyielding. Because not all victories come with cheers, some come with silence, and the strength to keep going when no one's watching. Ronda Rousey, the invincible who shattered. Kat's pain was quiet, buried deep, but Ronda Rousey's fall echoed across the world. She wasn't just a fighter, she was a movement. Every armbar, every stare, every walkout screamed invincibility. She ruled the cage, the headlines, the culture itself. No one believed she could break, not even her. Then came Holly Holm, calm, patient, precise. The kick came like lightning, perfect and merciless. One strike, and the world flipped. Ronda's eyes went blank, her crown hit the canvas, and silence swallowed the arena. She ruled the world until it reminded her she was human. The cheers turned into questions, the fame into pressure, the spotlight into isolation. The same world that crowned her now watched her fade. But even shattered, she remains unforgettable, the storm that changed everything, and proved that even the strongest fall hardest when they forget what it means to fall at all. Sean O'Malley, the humbling moment. Ronda's fall shook the world, but from her ashes came a new era, flashier, louder, brighter. And leading it was Sean O'Malley. The hair, the swagger, the highlight knockouts, he felt untouchable, a showman who painted violence like art. Every step, every smirk, was confidence wrapped in color. Then came Marlon Chito Vera, calm, cold, unmoved by hype. One kick, one moment, and O'Malley's leg gave out. The crowd gasped, the stars stumbled, and the night turned from spectacle to silence. Some called it a fluke, others called it fate. That night, pain became prophecy. He learned the truth every great fighter meets, the cage doesn't care about fame, only fire. And O'Malley came back burning. Smarter, sharper, ruthless. The same cage that broke him would one day crown him. Now, he stands as champion, proof that defeat isn't the end. It's the beginning of belief, born through pain, shaped by loss, written in blood. Because sometimes, pain becomes prophecy. Weili Zhang, shock in the desert. O'Malley's pain turned into prophecy, but for Weili Zhang, pain came like a storm, silent first, then devastating. Under the bright desert lights, she stood proud, powerful, a champion carved from discipline and fire.
Then Rose Namajunas whispered, "I'm the best."
One head kick later, the world went quiet. She fell in silence, but rose through chaos. For months, the replay haunted her, that one perfect strike, the disbelief, the heartbreak of a nation. But Weili didn't crumble, she rebuilt. Every punch sharper, every round stronger, every moment fueled by purpose. When she returned, it wasn't revenge she sought, it was redemption. The same cage that broke her became the place she was reborn. Because true champions aren't defined by gold, they're forged in the fall, and Weili Zhang proved that sometimes the quietest defeat creates the loudest comeback.
Ciryl Gane, the technical heartbreak.
Weili fell in silence and rose through chaos, a testament to resilience, but Ciryl Gane's heartbreak came in a different form. He was a genius in motion, every step calculated, every strike precise, every fight a symphony of technique. The crowd watched in awe, mesmerized by a fighter who made the cage look like a chessboard.
But even brilliance has its limits. Francis Ngannou wasn't just a man, he was force, unstoppable and relentless, a storm that doesn't negotiate.
Gane moved, measured, calculated, but the pressure built, timing faltered, and the moment of perfection slipped. One strike, one collapse, and all the plans, all the strategy, all the genius paused, shattered, and questioned. He trained for skill, honed for victory, but the cage doesn't favor technique over power, precision over pressure. A tactical, mental defeat that stung deeper than any knockout. A genius in motion, stopped by power and pressure. And yet, even in loss, the mind remembers, plans, and rises, because the heart of a fighter never truly breaks. Kamaru Usman, the head kick heard around the world.
Ciryl Gane's brilliance met force, but Kamaru Usman's reign met disbelief.
The champ had dominated, controlled, and crushed every challenger in his path, the world calling him unbeatable, a titan in the cage. Every strike calculated, every takedown precise, every round in his hands.
Then Leon Edwards stepped forward, calm, silent, waiting for the moment others couldn't see.
The bell rang, and the fight unfolded like any other until it didn't. One head kick, clean, perfect, unstoppable. Time slowed, eyes widened, and a lifetime of dominance collapsed in an instant. The crowd screamed, disbelief echoing across the arena, every punch and plan forgotten in a single moment of brilliance. A single kick, a lifetime changed. Usman rose, stunned, the world watching as an empire fractured in seconds. And yet, even in the chaos of defeat, every champion learns, the cage humbles everyone, reminding us that no reign lasts forever. Jiri Prochazka, the warrior's fall. Usman fell to a single kick, an empire shattered in seconds, but Jiri Prochazka's fall was quieter, darker, and more personal. He fought like a samurai, every strike precise, every movement a dance of violence and honor. The crowd saw a warrior untouchable, fearless, unstoppable. But beneath the armor, chaos waited, patient and sharp. Injury struck, unexpected, cruel, testing body and mind alike. One misstep, one moment of weakness, and the warrior faltered. Loss came not only in the fight but in the mind, doubt creeping, confidence shaken, and the once blinding fire dimmed. He fought like a samurai, but even blades break. Yet Jiri's story isn't just about collapse. Every scar, every stumble, every moment of pain is the forge of a true fighter. He learns, rebuilds, and returns with the same heart that made him legendary, tempered now with caution, resilience, and understanding. Because in MMA, even warriors fall, but only those who rise again write the stories that last forever.
Ciryl Adesanya, the rival that haunted him.
Jiri fell like a samurai, but Ciryl Adesanya faced a different kind of battlefield, the mind. Technical, artistic, flawless in motion, he danced in the cage like a painter with a masterpiece. Yet every stroke of brilliance met a shadow, Pereira. The rivalry wasn't just physical, it was mental, a war of patience, pride, and pressure. Every fight against him was a mirror, reflecting doubt, fear, and the limits of perfection.
Adesanya moved, struck, and evaded, but the weight of expectation pressed heavier with each round.
Every artist faces the canvas that beats him.
Defeat was never permanent, but the lesson was sharp, unyielding.
The crowd saw strikes, counters, and knockdowns. He saw opportunity, focus, and redemption. Every setback shaped the king of the striking art, teaching him that even genius can be challenged, humbled, and refined. Because in MMA, it isn't just about strength, it's about learning to rise when the canvas fights back.
Islam Makhachev, the lesson in patience.
Adesanya faced the canvas that beat him, learned from every strike, every moment of doubt, but Islam Makhachev's lesson came quietly, in the shadows of early defeat. He walked like a student of the cage, watching, learning, calculating, every misstep a teacher, every loss a blueprint. Before dominance, there was pain, a punch, a moment, a reminder that the path to greatness isn't instant. One hit changed perspective, sharpened instincts, and taught patience that even Khabib couldn't fully instill. Every tap, every choke, every failed step became a stepping stone toward mastery.
One punch taught him everything Khabib couldn't.
The crowd may have only seen the victories, the belts, the unstoppable streaks, but Islam knew the true value of patience, of timing, of discipline. Because in MMA, the cage doesn't just crown champions, it sculpts them, and Makhachev rose, steady, unshakable, proof that every lesson, no matter how brutal, leads to greatness.
Dustin Poirier, the painful education.
Makhachev learned patience through a single punch, rising steady and unshakable, but Dustin Poirier learned through fire, countless early losses, each one a teacher, each one a scar. He wasn't born a champion, he was forged in the grind, molded by moments that could have broken him forever. Every setback felt personal, every mistake echoed louder than the cheers, and yet he kept stepping back into the cage, swinging, bleeding, learning. Pain became routine, failure a mirror reflecting what needed fixing. He trained harder, struck smarter, and with every fight, the diamond inside grew brighter. Pressure makes diamonds, and breaks many before they shine. Poirier's rise wasn't sudden, it was earned, each victory layered atop lessons learned from nights of defeat. Fans saw the knockouts, the wins, the belts, but behind every triumph was a story of struggle, resilience, and education through pain. Because in MMA, the greatest fighters aren't those who never fall, they're the ones who rise every time, sharper, stronger, and ready for more.
Paulo Costa, the ego crush.
Poirier rose through pain, diamonds forged in fire, but Paulo Costa fell to pride. The world saw power, aggression, a fighter who believed he was untouchable. Every strike, every word, every pose screamed confidence, maybe too much.
Then he met Ciryl Adesanya. Precision met force, timing met chaos, and ego met reality. The fight unfolded like a lesson written in the cage.
One misstep, one feint, one devastating counter, and Costa's swagger crumbled. The crowd gasped, cameras captured the collapse, and the man who thought he was untouchable realized humility isn't learned in training, it's earned in defeat.
Power meets precision, and power always forgets humility. Costa's fall wasn't just about losing a fight.
It was a reminder that dominance fades when pride overshadows patience, that the cage humbles the strongest, and that even the most forceful warriors can be taught a lesson they'll never forget.
Johnny Walker, the wild fall. Paulo Costa's pride met precision, and humility was carved into him, but Johnny Walker's fall came like a storm. He rose fast, wild, untamed, highlight reels, jaw-dropping KOs, a fighter who seemed unstoppable, a comet in the cage blazing for the world to see. The fans cheered, the hype built, every fight a spectacle, every strike bigger than the last. But the higher you fly, the faster you fall. Momentum turned to mistakes, power to recklessness, and the wild flame that dazzled everyone burned too bright, too fast. Sudden losses, missteps, fights slipping through his hands, the cage reminded him that chaos rewards only those who control it. His rise was breathtaking, his fall shocking, and in the rubble of hype and speed, he learned what every fighter must. Fame and talent are fragile, and the higher you soar, the harder the crash. Alex Pereira, when the hunter becomes the hunted. Johnny Walker flew too high, crashing under the weight of chaos, and Alex Pereira learned that even hunters can become prey. He walked into the cage like a predator, every strike calculated, every motion sharp, a man who seemed untouchable, feared by champions and challengers alike. Then Ciryl Adesanya appeared, calm, precise, the shadow waiting for the hunter. Every punch Pereira threw met timing, every advance met strategy, and suddenly, the hunter realized the game had changed. He who struck first now felt the sting, the disbelief, the taste of being chased. Every monster fears the shadow of his own making. Pereira's losses weren't just defeats, they were lessons, warnings, cycles of revenge and redemption that shaped the predator into something wiser, sharper, and more dangerous. The cage doesn't care who hunts or who falls, it only cares who learns to survive, adapt, and strike again. In the end, even the hunter can be hunted and rise stronger. Every fall, every knockout, every shattered crown, from Cody's heart to Nate's bloodied streets, from Aldo's 13 seconds to Adesanya's haunted canvas, every fighter faced the cage and themselves. Pain carved lessons, pride met reality, and champions were remade in silence and chaos. In the fight game, nobody stays undefeated, not in the cage, not in life. The lights fade, the crowd roars, and history remembers the falls as much as the victories. The real victory is standing up when the lights go out, scars and all, ready to fight again.